Hey, Plaidman here. Today we are going to talk about a couple things, but we're doing one video at a time. So first things first, today we're going to do a movie review about Enola Holmes 1 and 2. Now, in all fairness, usually with these movie reviews, I literally just watch the movie. So I just finished watching Enola 2. I saw Enola 1 when it first came out. Now, understand this. I'm married to a woman. She's amazing. And she's got a very solid fondness for Henry Cavill, who is in Enola 1 and 2. And if I'm honest, he's a sexy dude. So I'm not knocking it. And he looks a little bit like me if I lost weight, gained muscle, and was super wealthy and awesome as an actor. But I'm not there yet. So until then, we're at where we're at. You have to excuse the surroundings. I'm kind of house sitting / dog sitting. My parents are out for a moment, so it's cold outside. I didn't want the dogs to just be outside, so I'm in their place, and we're doing a video inside because it's cold. Anyhow, so Enola Holmes 1. I consider it very, very enjoyable. Now, I think this came out in 2020 or 2021. So right around the COVID times. It's got Millie Bobby Brown, who's of Stranger Things fame. That's how she kind of got up and started. And effectively, Enola Holmes is about, you have, Sherlock, his older brother Mycroft Holmes. And then there is this totally fictitious other character that is Sherlock's significantly younger sister by about, they never say, but it's 10 years younger. Maybe even 15 years younger, which I have to say that's a bit of a stretch biologically speaking, but whatever. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. It's just, it's very, even in today's times, 10 years is a bit of a stretch, but yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter. So the first one, I think it has its peaks and valleys. And if you just take it as a very enjoyable film, you're cool. This is, we're just having fun with this concept. It's a little silly. It's a good amount of action, but not too much. It doesn't really take itself too serious, and you're okay, cool, that's fine. And generally, I enjoyed it. Okay, I don't really have any out and out things to say. It maybe is a little bit paint by numbers, but I will say that I really applaud the characters, the Holmes family. So their mom, I always forget her name. Oh my God, I can't. She played Lisa Bellastrade or whatever, Bellestrange in Harry Potter. She's her husband's the guy who does all the Johnny Depp movies that are really weird, like Edward Scissorhand. I can't even remember his name right now. Gosh, dang it. Anyways, she's an amazing actress, and that's their mom. You have another really good British actor playing Mycroft, and he does a delicious job of being Mycroft. Henry Cavill, obviously, Sherlock Holmes, and in my opinion, he does a very good, PG-13 Sherlock. If you want, it's a soft PG-13. If you want, a hard PG-13, you watch Robert Downey Jr. If you want, a rated R, how Sherlock, in my opinion, should be, you watch Benedict Cumberbatch's BBC, and I think that's on Netflix. So we've got a couple of different Sherlocks. And if you just want the stuff, just read the novels. And now you have Enola Holmes, and she was very much, because there's such an age gap, she was very much brought up by her mom to be a certain way, and her mom is very much a independent, fiery woman who's extremely smart, extremely capable, and she effectively homeschooled Enola for all these little things. And because of that, Enola has that spark in her to investigate things. So effectively, Enola is the PG version of Sherlock, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And it made for a really delicious, fun adventure. Then we get to Enola Holmes 2. Now, I was a bit worried because of the world we live in and how much things have changed. If anything, look at any of the recent Marvel stuff, like Marvel's Phase 4 stuff, and you're going to see that things have changed. And it's not the Marvel of yesteryear. Like the last decade of Marvel has been a certain way, and then they just flipped the script. Starting a little bit with like Black Panther, but then like Captain Marvel, and then it just went a whole other way. And I don't really want to get into it right now. Lots of other people have gotten more into it and done a better job. But simply put, things have changed. And I'm not really a fan of them. I actually think that the product is inferior. I think that there is a message that's being pushed. I don't think that there is really, I mean, with Marvel, it's less like reality, but that's fine. But with Enola Holmes, it's set in the past at a certain time in history, in a certain place in history. And to me, it happened a bit with the first one, and they went heavy into it for the second one, where there's so many characters that are, excuse me, but they're different races. Like, this is in London in like 1910, 1920. I think it's like in between World War I and II. It's a while back. Even if it was like post World War II, it's still like you're in London and you're trying to make it seem like, oh, hey, like, I don't know, half of our supporting characters are different races. And that was with the first one, and it wasn't like even half, it was like a quarter. And I was like, this is a stretch, but like, fine, I get it, I understand, fine. We're not really like going heavy into historical accuracy. Hollywood is trying and trying and trying to hire more and more ethnic people. So even though this would be a primarily white cast, we're going to hire some non-white people to be in this world. Fine, whatever. Interestingly enough, I'd like to point out, though, if you look at the background, like in the extras, not a lot of ethnic people. It's primarily still white people, which is fascinating to me that I'm like, oh, so you have supporting people, but you don't have, like, supporting characters with lots of lines, lots of actions, but you don't really have, like, your background being super diverse. But them's the facts. So Enola 1 had, like, I don't know, 25%, maybe a little more, like 30% of that. Enola 2, like, ratcheted up to 11. So if you were going with the diversity bingo game, you would have won in, like, the first 20 minutes. And then towards the end, you would have been like, oh my gosh, I think I just bingoed twice. Like, there was one thing, they didn't have, like, a handicap. That was my only thing. They didn't have a they, them, and they didn't have somebody who was handicapped. And I was like, well, you guys messed that up. Like, hello. But maybe there's too far. Anyhow, I mean, that's me knocking the film. And generally, I enjoyed the film. Millie Bobby Brown, who's the lead, Enola, she does really good. Again, it's meant to be kind of like tongue-in-cheek, and there's moments where they're trying to pull a Daredevil thing of her like talking directly to camera. I don't like that films are doing this now. Like, I get it's supposed to be kind of cute, and they did it with the first one. But to me, I'm just like, look, there's a reason we're watching this film. I don't actually want you to break the fourth wall. Just be. But in a weird way, I think it actually kind of works for this because it helps excuse the malarkey. I know that's a weird way of looking at it, but like, because she's breaking the fourth wall a little bit from time to time, it helps justify this like fake world that they've set it. So it's not really historically accurate. I did find out at the very end that what the whole premise of the story... Hi, Boba. What? Oh, sorry. This says Bubba's. Hi, Bubba's. Yeah. That the whole premise was kind of like based on a true story, but not really. Like, they didn't say it in the beginning of the film. It's not based on a true story. Actions happened, and then they kind of like built the movie around that moment. But none of the characters involved in this story were involved. They didn't even put a timestamp, like a date on when that happened. So it's very like fiction, like, hey, this happened and we want to support this, so we're going to make up this whole thing in that world. So it's not based on a reality. Sorry, I shouldn't have brought Boba up here. Love you, kiddo. That's my lady's dog, by the way. Boba, like the thing you sip that's like super sugary and gummy. That I don't like, but whatever. Okay, so Henry Cavill also does a terrific job. The mom does a good job, but it's like okay, so it's a good movie to enjoy and just watch. There are tremendous problems. They fall into this trap, and I need to like find a catchphrase for it, where you have women who have martial arts training, and it's like somehow they're able to like overcome guys that are literally twice their body mass. Like twice. And you have women who are like 110 pounds, and you have a 220 pound guy that's getting like flipped over. And I'm like, I'm sorry. No, I think I saw one video once of like an old, like, I don't know, 60-year-old judo master who had the capacity to take people who were coming at him and like flip them. But he obviously, and the idea behind it was he had been doing that and practicing for decades and decades and decades. That was his life, and that's why he was able to do that. Instead, they're like, oh, person with martial arts skill can beat someone twice their size and muscle mass, and maybe 3 times their muscle mass, with like some martial arts that they like study occasionally, spend 5 hours a week on. And I'm like, I mean, cool. If that gets more women to study martial arts, then I'm totally a fan of that. And I don't really want to knock that, but I do feel like it's a bit of a lie. It's like seeing an advertisement for a Whopper, and then you go and get it, and you're like, it said it was this big, but it's actually this big. Well, this big. There we go. I kind of made it seem like, oh, it's this. Anyways, whatever. In general, I like the film. I like that we got a little bit more stuff with Sherlock. It seems like they're going to lead up to a 3rd film, which is fine by me. It's just a popcorn film, so don't take it too serious. However, I do not like, and I'm not okay with this constant, incessant of like, women can beat the crap out of dudes. And I'm like, that's not true. That's not true. If you can justify it and explain it and have them use their wits, their intelligence, their agility, their smarts, which sometimes they do, by the way. Sometimes they do have Enola get out of a situation using just her intelligence. And I'm like, that's amazing. I love it. Great. Good. That's totally fine. If we can get Hollywood to do more of that, then it'd be great, because I don't have a problem with women overcoming men in conflict. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is this idea of like, oh, girl, like tiny girl that's like 120 pounds going up against a 200-pound guy and like surviving and beating him in like lickety-split time. Without it being like, oh, and there was an instance in a movie I'm thinking where like, yeah, no, she's a trained assassin. This is what she does. And even still, she doesn't go fisticuff. She like throws something at his like head and then he dies. And it's just like, oh, got it. Yeah, like 10,000 hours of throwing things very quickly and then you just take out. That's fine. I don't mind things like that. Or Indiana Jones where he just pulls out his revolver and he shoots. Like, that's fine too. I just felt like this movie kind of leaned into that. It leaned into like, we need the diversity Olympics here. And it was just across the boards. Other than like Sherlock Holmes and like Sherlock Holmes and Enola were both white, which I don't really care, but it's like you're in a certain time in a certain place in the world. So other than those two, and then like one of the villains, because there are several in the second one, pretty much everybody else was like different ethnicities with speaking lines, or they were like some villainous like corporate capitalism is bad type of thing. And I'm not I will say this, and I'll finish it on a good note. The overall message, which I felt like they went kind of heavy into, but I think is still valid, is that you can't do things by yourself. And that's true, except with the addendum of like, you can, and that's a good thing. However, you also need backup and support. So get your backup and support. Get people around you that will help you go to this objective. Doesn't mean you don't have to put in the work, because you do need to put in the work. But get people around you who will support you to this thing. And if it either because they're busy or they're just not interested or they're toxic, those other people that are not going to help you get here, don't give them the time. Just don't give them your time. And that's it. That's it. Enola Holmes 1 and 2 review. You're welcome. I love you. Plaidman out. Bye-bye.